Once school ended, I took the day off from choir with the excuse that I was feeling sick and quickly left the school building. This was the first time in my life I'd ever taken a sick day, though it felt like the guilt of this crime was dragging me down. My body kept moving forward. When it came to my list of priorities, which included school, club work, and various responsibilities, I knew I had moved Senpai to the very top. I've heard that the words and actions of someone head over heels in love can appear comical to others. I wondered if I also looked like a buffon. For the first time ever, I headed towards the high school. The high school building was adjoined to the junior high, so I saw it immediately. Going around the outside wall, I reached the front gate, where I started to pass by students from the high school. I checked whether Senpai was among them, as I leaned against one of the pillars of the gate. The light of the early afternoon felt warm against my neck. If Senpai had already gone home, how long would I end up waiting here? When I closed my eyes, I imagined the train going incredibly far away. Without a train to take, I couldn't get anywhere. What would my family think if they knew I was slacking off in both my club activities and my studies? Obsessing over Senpai might leave the rhythm of my life in a terrible state. Though it was warm outside, my thoughts grew increasingly dark. I opened my eyes and started simply counting the people who came out from the gate. How many did I count before she finally appeared? Sayaka-chan? When Senpai called to me in slight surprise, I felt a wave of nostalgia. The fear of being abandoned that had been building up in my head crumbled away. Senpai! I pulled myself away from the gate and turned towards her voice. Senpai was there, but she wasn't alone. The two people standing next to her were probably her new high school friends. They certainly weren't other upper-class men from choir club. As she looked at me, an odd expression came over her face. Senpai turned to the two and explained. She's an underclassman of mine. Yes, sorry, I can't go with you today. She exchanged one or more two words with the others, and then came over to me. When we faced each other directly, I smelled an entirely new aroma. I wondered if it was coming from her scarf. It's been a long time. Yeah, the senpai replied. She turned to watch the two friends she had just parted from, looking rather worried. Senpai? Oh, right. Her tone and smile were equally vague as she turned back to me. It felt as if I had swung at something and missed, several times in a row. This was going a little differently from what I had imagined. Is something the matter? Senpai asked. As she tilted her head rather curiously, all of the momentum went out of me, like a puppet whose string had been cut. What do you mean, is something the matter? Our long time apart hadn't bothered Senpai at all. I was flummoxed by the evident difference in our commitment. Senpai seemed to realize this from my attitude, and spoke in a quick, flustered tone. Oh, you came to see me? Thank you. I heard her words of forced gratitude waver in the gentle spring wind. You were pure white, inside and out, no meaning behind them whatsoever. Uh, Sorry, I was just surprised because it was sudden. Not at all. Senpai was only human, so of course she lied and tried to keep up appearance like anyone else. I knew that. But the fact that I was the target of it now did hurt my feelings a bit. But I was too weak to bring myself to ask her, am I bothering you? What's wrong? Why are you staring at me? Senpai wore a strained smile. If I came closer, I would just be making the uncomfortable mood even worse. I paused for a breath and slowly chased away the two large hopes that had lurked inside of me. It's nothing, I muttered, as if to myself as much as her. I just thought that your smile looked a little more mature, Senpai. What? But I only just became a high school student. That can't be true. Senpai waved her hand as though to say no way. Then she smiled as she fiddled with the ends of her hair. But I become an adult in your eyes then, Sayaka-chan. She chuckled, looking rather satisfied with herself. When she acted like her old self again, the sense of maturity vanished, even though I was the one who had pointed it out. Still, I was relieved to finally see the senpai I knew. Senpai, do you have a cell phone? Now that I felt like I could ask her that, I went straight into business. A cell phone? Yeah, I do. Could I have your number, please? Though I didn't think that she would say no, I still felt like I had to ask politely. Of course I can, but. And she pulled out her phone. Her eyes wandered left, looking into the distance. Could you give me your number, Sayaka-chan? Our conversation had gone slightly out of sync, which had always happened from time to time. Senpai could be a little oblivious. Oh, do you have a cell phone though, Sayaka-chan? Yeah, I have one now too. The order in which these things occurred to her was very typical Senpai. I had asked for a cell phone in order to connect with Senpai, but I realized once I got it that there was no point unless she had one too. Now I would finally be able to use it. I told her my memorized phone number. It's this and this and this. Is that right? Senpai showed me the screen of her phone to have me verify it. If it was wrong, then I would have to be sick again to take another day off for club activities, so I was careful when I checked. Yeah, that's right. Once I replied, though, I realized that maybe this wasn't quite the same. If Senpai didn't call me, I wouldn't know her number. The next move would be entirely up to her. It wasn't as though I didn't trust Senpai, but I was the one who made the situation happen. Senpai didn't seem to have been particularly inclined to act. That bothered me a bit, but I pretended not to see it. Wow, though I didn't even know your phone number, Senpai muttered as she looked down. Senpai? Oh, no, it's nothing. Once she finished saving my number, Senpai put away her phone. Then she looked down at me intently. Sayaka-chan, she said my name again, as though correcting herself. Yeah, I replied, but she didn't continue. Hmm. Senpai's mouth contorted into an unusually moody expression. Her eyes screwed up too, and then closed as though she were in thought. While I waited for her to speak, cars passed by us on the road, though they were on top of the asphalt. I heard strange noises, as though gravel had been caught up in their wheels. Actually, never mind. She reined her difficult expression back in and put on a smile instead. But now I'm worried. I've thought about saying something, but I ended up thinking that maybe it doesn't matter. That got me even more curious to know what it was. There really isn't a long way to go, but let's walk home together for a bit. As if to change the subject, Senpai started walking, with me accompanying her. My legs seemed to be lighter now when they were moving than when I had come here. But it wasn't because I was relieved. I just felt empty. My coming here didn't seem to have changed anything. All that happened was that Senpai's phone grew just a bit heavier with my phone number. I had yearned for this time with Senpai for so long. But now, though she was walking beside me, she felt more distant than ever before. I wondered if it was because there was sort of a wall between us now that she was a high school student. Or maybe... What is it? Senpai grew self-conscious, fiddling with her hair. Perhaps it was because I'd been looking up at her absent-mindedly. It seems like you've gotten taller than me again, Senpai. Wow, I can't believe you noticed. When I got measured at my health exam, I was a little taller. As though she were a bit proud, she put her palm on top of her head. Of course, it wasn't as though I had noticed that. But now that she mentioned it, it really did look like she had grown. I felt harried that Senpai seemed to be getting further and further ahead of me. I'd like to hurry and catch up to you, Senpai, I murmured. Senpai's eyes went wide for a moment. Then she turned to the front and said, "That would be nice." When we parted, she added, "I'll try calling you tonight." I'd become so simple that those words alone were enough to clear the fog inside of me ever so slightly. I couldn't seem to keep hold of my complexities when it came to Senpai.